Hi there, hope you have a fantastic day today. This lesson I will teach you how to find and graph inverse functions. Of course, there's a PDF file versions on the description below for you to download so you can work with me. Otherwise, let's go straight into it. So let's say we have a point 1, 2. So the inverse of this, so F inverse is 2, 1. If we have, let's say, -2, 3. So the inverse of this will give me 3, -2. Let's say we have 5 and -1. So the inverse of this will give me -1 and 5. So you can see a pattern here. So the inverse functions is the reflections of the functions about the line y is equal to x. So to find the inverse functions, so we need to do 2 steps. So step number 1 is we need to interchange between x and y. And step number 2, we need to make y as a subject. And that will be your inverse functions. So let's do a couple examples. Let's say f of x is equal to 2x minus 4. Now to find the inverse function of this, now remember step number 1, we need to interchange between x and y. So this fx here is just like y. So therefore we interchange this. So this is x and this is the x now here is replaced with y. So 2y minus 4. Now what we need to do is we just need to make y as a subject. Now to do this, we just move this -4 on this side. So that becomes positive. So that is x plus 4 is equal to 2y. So now I divide by 2 on both sides. So if I divide this by 2, I divide the whole lot by 2. That cancels out. So that is y is equal to x plus 4 over 2. So that will give me the inverse functions. Or this can be written as, remember I can split that out, is x over 2 plus 4 over 2. So 4 over 2 is 2. So I can just write 2. Or better than this, I can even write a half of x plus 2. Okay? So you know that which is equal to a half of x plus 2. So therefore, the inverse of the functions is a half of x plus 2. So let's sketch both inverse and the functions, okay? So let me just label the x-axis first, and this is y. 2, 4, 6. 2, 4, 6. We have -2, -4, -6. -2, -4, -6. So remember, the inverse functions is the reflections of the functions about the line y is equal to x. So better just to draw y equal x first, okay? So you can see the reflections. So this is y is equal to x. Now let's sketch the functions, which is f of x is equal to 2x minus 4. So to sketch this, all we need to do is just find x-intercept and y-intercept. So we can see the y-intercept is -4. Otherwise, let me just write this down here. So y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. So when x is equal to 0, let me just write down the function first. So that equal 2x minus 4. So when x is 0, so that means f of 0 is equal to 0 minus 4. So that gives you -4. So the y-intercept is -4. Now x-intercept, so just write it down. X-intercept is when y is equal to 0. That is fx equal to 0, if you like. So that means 2x minus 4 is equal to 0. I move the 4 on that side. So 2x minus 4 become 4 and x is 2. So the x-intercept is 2, the y-intercept is negative 4. So in here. So now we just connect the point together. So this is f of x. Now we can sketch the inverse functions. So to sketch these inverse functions, there's two ways to do it. So the first way is we can use the algebra. So that is, we can just sketch this function here because we already found the inverse functions. Another way is we can look at the graph and then we show the inverse function from there. So I'm going to do two ways for you, okay? So the first one, I look at the graph first. So this one here is 0, negative 4. So I interchange it. So it gives me negative 4, 0. And this point here is 2, 0. So I just interchange it. It becomes 0, 2. There you go. And this point here always the same, okay? Because it's reflecting about y is equal to x. So therefore, at that point, it's always the same, okay? So 4, 4, if you interchange, it still give you 4, 4. Just keep that in mind, okay? So let's sketch it. So this is f inverse of x. There you go. This is the inverse graph. Let's look at the inverse functions and we sketch from there, okay? So to sketch this, let me just clear this first. So we know the inverse functions is this one here. So the y-intercept is equal to 2. Otherwise, to find y-intercept, let me just write this down. Y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. So that means f inverse of 0. Don't forget we substitute in this function here because we are focused on the inverse functions. So a half of 0 plus 2. So that give me 2. So therefore the y-intercept is 2. So in here you can see here. And we need to find the x-intercept. So x-intercept is when y is equal to 0. In this case, y is inverse of x, yeah, equals 0. So this means that a half of x plus 2 is equal to 0. We move this on this side. A half of x is equal to negative 2. So we times 2 on both sides. So x is negative 4. So therefore, the x-intercept is negative 4. So negative 4 here, we already got it. And that's it, 2 points. So we can just join them up. F inverse of x. So there you go. This is the inverse graph. Let's go through next example. Let's say we have f of x is equal to 3 minus 2x over 3. So to find the inverse function of this is step number 1. We interchange between x and y. And then we make y as a subject. Okay, that will give me the inverse functions. So f of x is just like y. So we switch y and x. Okay, so this become x is equal to 3 minus 2y over 3. Now we need to make y as a subject. Now to do this, I just times 3 on both sides. So I times this by 3, I times this by 3. So this cancel out. So will give me 3x is equal to 3 minus 2y. So what I do now is because I have negative 2y, I move the negative 2y on that side and then the 3x on the other side. Okay. So I move this on this side and this 3x back on this side. So I will have 2y because negative 2y I move on that side becomes positive 2y. So the 3 I write this down first. So 3x I move on this side becomes minus 3x. Now I just divide everything by 2. So that will give me, I divide by this, I divide this. So now y is equal to 3 minus 3 over 2. So in another word, I write therefore the inverse function is equal to 3 minus 3x over 2. So there you go. This is the inverse functions. Or you can write like this as well. So easy for you to see. This is exactly the same as 3 over 2 minus 3x over 2. And we can write that as 1.5 minus 3 over 2x. Because when we write this, we better leave the gradient or the coefficient of x in improper fractions. Okay, easier, that's all. So now I can write 1.5 or 1.5, whichever way you like, minus 3 over 2x. So this is the inverse functions. Now I can graph functions and the inverse functions, okay, on same graph. So this is x, this is y. 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, negative 2, negative 4, negative 2, negative 4. So let's draw y is equal to x first, okay? So this is y is equal to x. Now let's get the function first. To get this, let me just rewrite this out first, okay? So let me write here. So f of x is equal to, so this one I can split this out. It's just like 3 over 3 minus 2 over 3x. But 3 over 3 is 1. So the y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. So f of 0 is equal to 1 minus 2 over 3 loss of 0. So anything times 0 is equal to 0. So the y-intercept is equal to 1. So it's here. Now to find x-intercept is when y is equal to 0. Just clear this first. Is when y is equal to 0. So that means 3 minus 2x over 3 is equal to 0. So this means that I times 3 on both sides. So 3 minus 2x is equal to 0. I move on this side. 3 is equal to 2x. So I divide by 2 on both sides. So this means that x is equal to 1.5. So x is equal to 1.5. Okay, 1.5. So this is 2 between. Okay, so 1.5 roughly. So roughly here. Okay, so I'm just join the points together. Or I can make a couple points instead of find x and y intercept. Okay, so let me just connect these together. So this is f of x. So now let's sketch inverse of this. So the inverse of this is, I can just look at the graph, I sketch it, okay? 0, 1. So 0, 1 become 1, 0. And this point here is 1.50 becomes 0, 1.5. So it's here somewhere, okay? And remember, this point is always equal because they both are equal. Remember, the inverse functions and the functions are reflecting about y is equal to x. So at this point, they're both the same, okay? So interchange is still the same. So let me just connect them together. So this is f inverse of x. So there you go. Please pause the video and try this one yourself. Hi, I'm back. How do you go? So let me go through it with you, okay, to see whether you got it right or not. Before I do that, please do not forget to give me a thumb up and subscribe if you haven't done so you can help me to grow my channel. So let's get into it. So to find the inverse of this, so step number 1, we need to interchange between x and y first, okay? So the functions f of x is equal to 2x minus 3. So f of x is just like y. So that becomes x. So the x becomes y. So 2y minus 3. Now the second step is we just need to make y as a subject. Now to do this, I move this 3 on that side. So it becomes positive. So that means x plus 3 is equal to 2y. Now I just divide by 2 on both sides. So 2 divided by 2, and the whole lot must divide by 2. So that means y is equal to x plus 3 over 2. So therefore, the inverse functions f inverse of x is equal to x plus 3 over 2. So this is the same as x over 2 plus 3 over 2, or 1.5 if you like. So I can just write this out, which is equal to a half of x plus 1.5 if you like, or 1.5, whatever way you like. Okay, so the same thing. So now we can actually sketch the inverse and the functions. Okay, now before I sketch the inverse and the functions, so let me just sketch y equal x first. Okay, so this is y is equal to x. Now let's get the functions. So the function is fx equal to 2x minus 3. So I can sketch by using gradient y-intercept form. Okay, so we know that the y-intercept is -3, says here. Now remember, I can also use these techniques. Y equal mx plus b, and b is equal to -3, and m is front of x is 2, so m is equal to 2. So 2 is just like 2 over 1. So it go up by 2 across 1, okay, from the y-intercept. So we know the y-intercept is -3 is here. So that means it go up 1, 2 across 1. 1, 2 across 1. Okay, that would do. I just join these points together. Or you can use x and y-intercepts, of course. So just join these points together. There you go. So this is f of x. Now we sketch the inverse. So the inverse functions is, remember, 2 ways to do it. One way is you can look at the inverse function and sketch the functions. Otherwise, I can just look at the functions and I pick a few points and I interchange it, okay? So this one easier, just look at the function, I sketch the inverse. So we have 0, -3. So it becomes -3, 0. And this point here is 2, 1. It becomes 1, 2. And this point here, they are the same, okay? Always. So now I just connect them together. There you go. This is the inverse functions. Otherwise, you can just sketch these functions and it will give you exactly the same, okay? I hope you got all of them correct. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.